Jeffro from Two Hacks Garage. Well, what a mess I got going on in the garage. Jimmy and I are going to be taking Jumpin' Jack Flash, our nostalgia front engine dragster, to the track this week to get some shakedown runs, see what it'll do, see how straight it goes, and see what we need to do in the off season. It's been a long journey. I've learned a lot. It's been a lot of fun. It's been somewhat frustrating. But you know what, guys? In the last few videos, we converted this thing from race gas, which was way too hot, over to methanol, and now it's really cool. Get it? Methanol, cool? It's cool? Yeah, horrible joke. Anyway, these methanol carburetors, they're a Holley QuickFuel Technology XP 500 CFM 2-barrel. It's a circle track carb. If you saw the last video, that sounds really crisp, throttle response is great, and all that fun jazz. But if you notice in how we installed these, they actually had to go backwards. I'm going to show you why here in a second. But anyway, with that, our float bowls on these are on the back, and that's going to require us to run a jet extension. So this video is basically what is a jet extension, how they work, and how do you install them. It's actually quite simple, but you know what? There are multiple types of jet extensions, and you got to pay attention if you have an alcohol carb or a gas carb. With that, guys, we should probably get to showing you why we're doing this and what we got going on. By the way, what do you think of my new t-shirt? You know me, I love old t-shirts. I love vintage drag racing. I love the old jackets and all that. My dad and I went to Mid-State Dragway. They had a nostalgia fest going on. It was absolutely awesome. It was packed full of gassers, dragsters, nostalgia super stock. I mean, you name it. It was a really good time. I got a whole bunch of content coming out on that. Hopefully next year that you'll see this thing with Jimmy and I racing with some guys. It's going to be a really good time. With that, guys, we need to show you why we're doing this and what we're working with. See you in a few. All right, to keep this short and sweet so we can actually get to what we're going to actually talk about with jet extensions. If you look here, I've already got one of the float bowls off. I've been working on some stuff here. But if you look, the float bowl on the back or on these are on the back. These carburetors are actually meant to be oriented the front way. But if you look at our throttle right here, this car was originally set up for injection, which we're going to do in the off season, but it's a pull method there, and that routes through all the frame. It's a custom Morse cable. So what we did is we oriented these backwards just to take advantage of what we've already built, what we already have, you know, set up and all that without having to go and order much more parts this late in the season, because we know our ultimate goal is to actually go back to injection. So what we did was we mounted these backwards, but when mounting something backwards, or if you have a car that hooks really hard and you got your floats, like your secondaries and all that in the back, if you notice your float bowl here has your metering block in front. Well, in that metering block, and I'll show you here in a second, it actually has the jets. So with these, since there's no float bowl on the front, this is providing you all your primary fuel, actually all of your fuel. You notice you got the lines that go up to here. One of them's already off. So what happens is if you hit the throttle really, really hard and this thing sticks, all that fuel is going to want to push back. And I'm going to show you here in a second on the metering block. And those jets might have a momentary second, fraction of a second, no fuel gets to it, and that can cause a lean out condition. So that's where jet extensions come in. That's where they're really crucial, because what happens is we're going to show you the jet extensions push your jet back, aka an extension, to make sure your jets stay in the fuel. With that, guys, we're going to go show you what are jet extensions, how they work, and we're going to show you the various types of jet extensions, because there is a difference between an alcohol carb and a gasoline carb. See you in a few. All right, guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over real quick the different types of jet extensions that are used on these carburetors. They have a screw-in and they have a slip-on style. This is a slip-on style that I got from Holley, and there's a reason why they call it a slip-on style, and I'll go over that in a minute. And then I did get this nice kit that's from QuickFuel Technologies, also from Holley, and it's a screw-in style. As you see here, it does come with an extra gasket just in case yours is torn or doesn't come off right. So that's good quality kit. But real quick, guys, there is a difference in jet sizes on the threads between gas and alcohol carbs. So if you look here, here is a gas jet. You can see the threads there. That's quarter 32. And here is an alcohol jet. These are 5/16 32. So if you look right there, you can actually see that, you know, there's a huge difference between the actual jets used between a gas carburetor and an actual alcohol carburetor. Obviously, the alcohol carburetors require a lot more fuel, and you know what, guys, that's going to play important when you need to get your jet extensions. So yeah, just remember that there are different sizes when it comes to your jet extensions. Gas is 1/4 32, alcohol is 5/16 32. So you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to show you the different extensions that I got. All right, guys, the first one that I got, I showed you, was the Holley slip-on extension. And if you look at that, you know, hence the name, slip-on. And I'll show you how to install these. Basically, when you put these in there, the jet goes inside and this slips over it, and you mount that to your metering block. So that's a slip-on style. So basically, your jet sits back in here, and that puts it down in the fuel. And then you have your screw-in style here, where what you end up having is this screws into your metering block here. Sorry if it's want to adjust. And then your jet screws in there. So both of these actually do the same thing and serve the same purpose, but they actually install differently. So when we were talking about earlier, the fuel, you know, getting pushed back and all that, here is what I'm going to talk about on that. So if you look here, you have your, we're going to orientate it this way because that's how the carbs are. You have your metering block, and this goes to your actual, mounts to your carburetor, and here's your float bowl, okay? So if you were to take this off real quick, if you look on the back here, that's where you have your jets, okay? Go from the side view of that. Your fuel bowl sits right here, and on my car, the front of the car is that way. So when you floor it and you hook traction, the fuel inside that bowl is going to want to move this way. Possibly exposing these to actually a no fuel condition, which can lean it out, cause it to miss, cause some damage. And in some cases, you know what, guys, it could cause it to die because you're not getting fuel. It'll starve it for a fuel. So yeah, that's kind of the theory behind that. And if you look closely here, you can kind of get what I'm talking about. So look where your jet is, right there. Now look when you made up your bowl. See that? So yeah, when the fuel gets pushed back through, up, you know, back into this bowl, you can obviously see why those could starve for fuel. So yeah, that is what jet extensions are and actually how they work. You know what, guys? Let's show you actually how to install these, because there are two different kinds. All right, first off, you're going to have to remove the actual jet in here. They do make specific tools for this. If you look, it's actually slotted. Like a screwdriver and all that, and you can actually damage these pretty easily, so you have to be careful if you're going to use a screwdriver. They do make specialty tools for these, but again, there is a difference between a gas jet tool and an alcohol jet tool. I actually have one on order, but this is my gas jet one. So basically how that works is, this is screwed in there. If you see how that's slotted, your tool goes inside there like that, and it attaches to that slot, and you know, it provides protection around the jet while it puts it in that slot, and you can remove it safely. I have the alcohol version of this on the way, but you know what, guys, it might be a few days and I just want to make this video. So you can use a screwdriver, but you want to make sure you use one very carefully, and you want to make sure that the slot on that, on your screwdriver, is pretty much about the same size slot on your jet. So this is an alcohol jet, so that one fits pretty well. So basically, your first thing that you need to do is you need to actually remove these jets. It's a lot easier to do if you have this off the carburetor. So what you want to do is, I'm going to do this as careful as I can. You're going to apply a little bit of pressure in there on those slots. And basically what you're going to do, you're just going to turn that like that, get them loose. Like that. And then from the rest of the way, if you're using a screwdriver, get them finger loose, just take them out. These don't have to be, you know, some crazy torque on there, but you don't want them to work their way out either. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to remove these, get these out. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you the slip-on jet extension and how that works. So if you look there, your metering block, it's bare. And now you can put in your jet extension. So when we were talking about jet extensions, the first one I did show you was the slip-on jet. So if you look here, the diameter of that opening, if you look, it's got a little bit of a lip on the bottom. You can see that lip, how it's like that on the back. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take your jet extension like that, and this thing goes inside just like that. You see how it sits down in there? So this is what this does. It provides fuel to get to that jet, and right there you can screw it in. So this is where you kind of have to be careful with these, especially if you're using a screwdriver. I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit. Try to do this and film at the same time. Sometimes it's just not the greatest. So here's how I do these. I would put the screwdriver down in there. Need another different size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that jet in there. You got to be careful so you don't strip any threads. Kind of going blind at it, but you'll get the gist of it. So just tighten it, snug it up a little bit. So right there, now you can kind of see, if you look inside there, there's your jet right there. You see that? And there's your extension. So now, when your bowl is mated up like this, you got your gas in the back. Now there is a little bit of an issue that we're going to go over at the end of this video of why you see this doesn't fit exactly 100% right. It has to do with the float. But for now, let's go and show you the other style extension. So if you look, see how that puts that back in there? Pretty neat, right? And make sure it's got the fuel that's going to go to that. Kind of like that. It's pretty neat. If you look here on the back of that, that's where it's going to sit back in there. You can see it's got the recessed holes already for that. So yeah, that is the slip-on style extension. And now I'm going to show you the screw-on style extension. So the screw-on style extension is this right here. Hence the name screw-on style. And then you got your jet that screws in there. If you notice here that it is threaded, or it does, it is meant for a wrench. So you can actually get it nice and tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on. I like to start these finger tight. So you're just going to screw that in like that. Nothing crazy. And you'll end up putting a wrench on there and just get it snug. Okay. This is demonstration purposes. I'm just showing you how to do it. So yeah, you're going to screw that on there and you're going to get that nice and snug. So what you're going to do here then is you're going to take your jet, your alcohol jet, and you're going to screw it on here. See that right there? So then you're going to take your screwdriver and you're also going to snug that out. But you got to be careful because you got to remember these are brass and you don't want to damage them. But if you look right there, you see the difference? Look at that difference in the length. This one's much longer and this one's a lot shorter. Now, the reason that is some of those floats are bigger and all that, and there is sometimes of an issue with that. And we're going to explain that here right now. So if you look at that, you can see the big difference, but you can see how they serve the same purpose. So the float on this carburetor here, if you look, it's not notched. This is actually a circle track, if they call it a single wedge. I was planning on replacing these anyway, and I'm waiting on a couple parts. So, and I'm going to show you a picture at the end of this video. So they do make floats that are specifically made for jet extensions, and on the bottom, they're notched here and notched there. So when you put your jets in, your jet extensions in, your float can actually operate correctly. So it doesn't actually get hung up, flood your carburetor, and all that type of stuff. So yes, always pay attention when putting jet extensions in that you get notched floats, because that's important. But now if you look here, you see those recessed marks right back in there, and you can see where the float extensions would go in there. Well, I'm going to show you something here, guys. You want to make sure you get the right extension for the right application. So I'm going to slip this in kind of over the float to replicate that. And that does go in there, okay? Both those floats are going to supply fuel to it at all times. Now, which one do you want to use? Guys, that's going to be completely up to you, but you want to make sure if you're using the slip-on style float that it's not going to bottom out in the back, because you don't want to also come into a case where it's not going to get enough fuel. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the screw-in style. That one is going to sit on the bottom, and if you look where they made up like that, you can see how the slip-on style, guys, that one goes all the way to the back. It's got enough room for fuel and all that, so I know I'm good. But if you look here with the other one, the screw-on style, that also is going to provide enough area. So if this thing does under traction hook and gives that momentary fuel moving towards the back, that you're going to always have a fuel condition where it's not going to lean out and it's going to provide fuel to that. So yeah, those are the different types of jet extensions. And like I said, you need to make sure when you order your jet extensions that you get the notched floats. That's the only parts I'm waiting on right now to get these converted over. Probably being in a day or two, but you know what, guys, I just wanted to get this video made for you guys and kind of show you when you're working with carburetors, depending on how your floats are oriented, or if you come into a condition, even on your secondaries where it's starving for fuel, they do make a jet extension that puts your jet back in the fuel at all times. And there are two different styles. There's a slip-on and there's a screw-on. Obviously different lengths, but they serve the same purpose. I hope that helped, guys. And all these parts that I did get them through Holley. Seeing I have a Holley carburetor, Holley QuickFuel to be exact. And if you have any questions on that, they have great technical resources and you can call them and all that. I know I did because I was new to the world with the methanol carbs and wasn't quite sure what I needed. So, but over there, you know what, guys, I got a huge jet kit because, like I said, Jimmy and I are going to the drag strip and we don't know if we got to jet this up or down. So I got a whole bunch of jets there. And looks like a range of like 116 to 208. Currently, they're 128s. So yeah, guys, that right there is a jet extension, what they are, how they work, and how to install them. So after this, guys, what you would do is you would actually make sure you got both the same jet extensions in there. And you would reinstall that, set your float, make sure there's no leaks, good to go. Not too shabby. Well, I hope you learned something there. You know, it's actually quite simple. Something probably commonly overlooked. I know at the beginning I did overlook that. Some people brought it to my attention, which I'm glad. So you just got to pay attention, you know, especially on cars that hook real well. You know, 60 foot times are extremely fast. That fuel in your bowls can actually get pushed back and have a starved condition where it can go lean. It could pop. It could cause damage. It could die. It could sputter. All those different types of things. So float extensions are important, not only in a, you know, like a double pump or 4-barrel configuration, but also if you're running a carburetor that has an unorthodox style mounting on it or even sideways. You just want to make sure at all times that these carburetors, any carburetors, always have fuel going to those jets. And that's why they make the different jet extensions. Like I showed you, there's two different styles. There's the slip-on and then there's a screw-on. For my application, what I'm going to be using the screw-on style. For me, it's going to make things a whole lot easier if I do need to make jet changes in the pits. Like I said, I got a huge assortment of jets and it's going to be fun. Jamie and I are going to go out and drag race. We're going to shake this thing down. Probably have to do a few jet changes. I'm really not sure, guys. It did sound really, really mean when we did fire it up, but it's a learning curve. And you know what, guys? That's something that, you know, very simple to do, very cost effective, and it ensures fuel to your carburetors at all times. With that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this small like tech tip and all that. I did get all these items from Holley's website. They are kind of specific to gas and alcohol, like I showed you. Just a reminder, the gas is 1/4 by 32 threads and the alcohol is 5/16 32. So you need to make sure you know which carburetor you're working with. And also, you got to make sure you get the notched fuel floats. I'm waiting on mine. It's going to be a quick installation, but for time's sake, and I got a whole bunch of preparation going on to go drag racing, I figured I'd make this video without it. But what I'll do at the end of this, I'll show you some pictures, some part numbers, and I'll put a picture in there also with those notched fuel floats. But with that, guys, I got a lot of cleaning up to do. I got some work to do on this. Jimmy's going to be here tomorrow. We're going to go over and do a once-over on the car and have a whole lot of fun doing that. But I hope this taught you something kind of basic, something sometimes it's overlooked, and something that might give you the edge coming off the line. With that, maybe in the next few videos, you're going to see this thing on the track. With that, Jumping Jack Flash was a gas, and now it's cool. Later.